So hi there everybody and welcome to the Voosestore YouTube channel. Today we're gonna have a look at the latest gimbal from Zhiyun, the WeeBill Lab. Stay tuned. So the last couple of weeks we've actually gotten to test a couple of gimbals. Now it's the turn of the Zhiyun WeeBill Lab, and it's a gimbal that I've actually used for a week or so now and that I've actually enjoyed quite a lot. Probably the best thing about the WeeBill Lab is the size. And coming in at 970 grams, it's a size that you actually very easily can bring with you, and it has a great trick up its sleeve. You can actually pack it up. It has these turning red knobs which lets it fasten, which lets you actually travel with this gimbal quite easily. So if you are out shooting videos and you're traveling a lot, this is probably the best gimbal for you right now. So as you can see on the bare aesthetics of this gimbal, a lot of things actually has changed from the prior gimbals from Zhiyun. You can see this big knob where I'm guessing they have all the electronics, which actually for me is quite a cool thing because it lets you have a smaller footprint when it comes to the altitude of the gimbal. You get a tripod mount that you can actually use, which is actually very well made. It has a rubber grip, and I would say it's probably as good as the one on the DJI Ronin-S. One thing to think about though is if you take off the knob, you won't have the same access to the buttons that you have here on the gimbal. So for all of you looking at this gimbal and saying, well, oh, it's so small without the tripod on. Yes, it is small, but you might actually accidentally press all the buttons. That will change a lot of features of this gimbal. With that said, you can actually use the tripod and put it up on this part of the gimbal. So if you are one of those people who are shooting a lot of footage way low, this is actually probably the best gimbal out right now for those as well. And it actually gives you another way to use your camera if you want to use your camera with two hands. You can also use this mount to put monitors, microphones, or any other accessories that you want, of course. So as many other gimbals since the release of the DJI Ronin-S, we can actually see that it has a trigger in front, which is great for being able to change modes when you're in the middle of a shot. And I'm guessing that most gimbals coming out from now on are gonna have this feature. So this gimbal is packed with features, and if you're a Panasonic GH5 shooter or a Sony shooter, you can actually take a cable, connect it to your camera, and you will actually open a lot of features. You will of course be able to start and stop your recording, which you actually can do with a lot of cameras, but with Panasonic GH5 and I'm guessing with some of the Sony cameras, you can actually go in and you can actually use the gimbal to change ISO, you can change aperture, you can change a whole lot of features on your camera. One thing that I truly love that you can do with this gimbal on the Panasonic GH5 is that you can press this knob and you can actually use it to trigger your focus. So if you see that your camera is out of focus, you can hold that button in and it will trigger the focus on your Panasonic GH5. So on the Panasonic GH5, at least with the DJI Ronin-S, you can actually use the wheel to access the focus on your camera. This is a thing that you actually cannot do with this gimbal. As far as I've actually learned, I've tried all the settings, but I haven't gotten this to work. So this wheel is more for the extra accessory that you can use to use a follow focus for all kinds of lenses that you might have. So the next thing that I would like to talk about is actually how they have implemented the app with this gimbal. You have here a screw where you can actually put a phone mount and use your phone as an external monitor, and that is actually quite a cool thing because when you connect your camera, you can actually send a full 1080p picture to your phone and use that as a monitor. For many people, I think this is a very cool feature, and I will actually use this feature if I'm in a pinch. I'm not a big fan of using your phone when shooting video and having it as a monitor because I actually like to have the phone for other things like answering the phone, having notes there, having my shot list. So the phone is actually for me tool to get the shots that I want so that I don't forget to shoot the things that I want. And I've learned this the hard way when I'm out shooting with drones, where you don't have to, but where I use the phone as a screen to know where the drone is. So I'm not a big fan of that feature, but it is nice to have it if you are in a pinch. Otherwise, I would use a proper monitor with this gimbal. But with that said, the phone app is actually very nice. I love the features of it. It's easy to connect. You can do a whole lot of things with it. You can actually track your subjects, which is a first for a gimbal of this size with a proper camera. And I have to say that Zhiyun has actually made a really good job at making an app that works great and is intuitive. Another thing that I really love about this gimbal is how they have made their quick release plates. This is actually a proper Manfrotto plate, so you can take the camera off, put it on your Manfrotto fluid head and use it directly. You can actually also take your old Manfrotto plates and put it on this gimbal. And as far as I know, a lot of the newly outcome gimbals that have come, they don't let you put Manfrotto plates on your gimbal. You can only go from the gimbal plate to a Manfrotto head. A smart thing that Zhiyun has done also is that on the Manfrotto plate, they have actually integrated an Arca Swiss plate. And that's a first, at least as far as I know. So the build is actually quite nice. I wouldn't say it's perfect, because if you're looking at having the perfect build, something like the DJI Ronin-S, you will gain a lot of weight. I think that Zhiyun has actually made quite a good compromise here, where they have used metal on the places that need to be metal, and they have used plastic on some places where it doesn't have to be as sturdy. And this is the battery compartment door, which doesn't have to be metal, at least in my book. And I think that this actually saves some weight for those people who want to have a lighter setup. And for me, this is probably the perfect compromise between build and lightweightness that I've seen so far in the gimbal. So now we know from the specs that this gimbal takes up to 3 kilos of camera gear on it, and my estimates is that that is probably true. But I know that a lot of you are looking to use the Blackmagic Cinema 4K pocket camera on this gimbal, and that will actually not work. And that is not because of the weight, it is because of how that camera is made. It's very wide, so it won't actually go on there. Tried really hard to put that camera on this gimbal, but it didn't work. So that's that for all of you who are looking to use that combination. When it comes to the Panasonic GH5, it works perfectly, but if you're one of those, and I am also users who use a speed booster with the Sigma 18-35, it actually works, but it won't be perfect. So if you use that a lot, I would probably go and look at another gimbal, maybe the upcoming bigger brother, the Zhiyun Crane 3, or something like the DJI Ronin-S or the Moza Air 2, which are all very nice gimbals. So when it comes to the footage that this gimbal lets you have, it's very nice. And I would say that most of the gimbals that are coming out right now from the bigger brands have really smooth footage, and I would say that this is also the case with the Zhiyun WeeBill Lab. It looks great. Now, we actually don't know if it's better or worse than something like the DJI Ronin-S or the Moza Air 2. So we're actually looking to make a comparison between this gimbal, the DJI Ronin-S and the Moza Air 2 during this week to see which of the gimbals is the smoothest and handles shots best. I am a big fan of the DJI Ronin-S and the motors on that gimbal because they are so smooth and they work perfectly. So I'm really looking forward to see if this gimbal and the Moza Air 2 work similarly. So if you want to see that video, please subscribe to our channel. If you have any questions for us, feel free to ask us in the comments and we'll try to answer them. And until the next time, bye bye.